Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Class 47 Peter YouTube channel. And in today's video you're joining me as I continue with the rebuild of the tunnel on the layout. Now it has been quite a while since we last did anything with the tunnel. We rebuilt it last year and we also relaid the 009 track, and then after that the progress stopped. Now the plan was last year to continue with the tunnel during the winter weather, but that's when we had problems with condensation. So that had to be temporarily sorted for the time being, to put tarpaulins up on the roof until we could insulate the roof. The shed roof really should have been insulated from day one, but it wasn't. But it has since been done now. We have used polystyrene multi-purpose insulating sheets, and that should cure the problem of condensation, and it already has been keeping out the heat in here, which is good. So that's the reason why we haven't really done anything else with the tunnel as of lately. It wasn't because I lost my motivation or lost my mojo or lost interest. It was because it was just one of those things. It was something I was meant to start on later on and then I couldn't, so I've had to wait till now to start it up again. So this video is going to be concentrating on the landscaping of this area here for the tunnel, where this big empty space is. Now before I do go ahead and do that, I could do with having a tidy up on here because it is looking a bit messy, and also I could do with hoovering up in this area in here as well, but that's not something I'm going to be doing on camera. I'm going to be doing that off screen, so we'll get that done and sorted and then we can crack on. So this area has been tidied and hoovered up, and it's now looking much more tidier and neater now than it was before. So now we can get started on the landscaping. So I'm making a start on the landscaping, and the first thing that I've turned my attention to is making a ditch that's going to run along the bottom along here. As you can see where these pieces of polystyrene are, which is what I'm making the ditch out of. It's going to run along the bottom across here. There's going to be a couple of culverts. There's going to be one around this area here, and somewhere further along here there's also going to be one. And the idea is it's going to run all the way along around to here, and there's going to be a pool around that area just there. So all I'm doing at the moment is I'm just taking sheets of polystyrene. All I do is I draw a line, then I cut out that line with a Stanley knife, and then all I do is push the two pieces apart like what I've done there to make a ditch. Obviously it is going to then be plastered and then be painted and detailed, obviously, but you get the idea. So this is where we're up to with the ditch. So all these pieces of polystyrene have been cut to shape. There are some gaps in between some of them, such as that one there, and especially that one over here. But bearing in mind, obviously, because all this is going to be landscaped and then scenery is going to be going here, this polystyrene is all going to be covered over, so you're never going to see any of it. So there's no point trying to fill in any of the gaps really, because you're not going to really see it. And then of course plaster's going to be going on, and that's going to shape this and make it look more natural looking. But I'm quite pleased with it so far. And there's the pool for where the ditch runs into. I know the edges are looking square on it rather than round, but when this gets plastered, I'm sure that can make it look more natural looking by rounding the corners off a bit. It may be that a slight change gets made as well, especially around for this area, but you know, that will be decided on later when it comes to doing the landscape. This part in particularly here was hard to do. That's been cut away here so I can fit in a culvert. There's going to be one up there and one down here. I may have to cut away a bit more into the polystyrene so it can fit more properly, and obviously the landscape, when we start doing that, that may have to be shaped to suit so that culvert can fit into place. So now I'm going to move on to the next part of the landscaping, which is going to be adding the bank that will run all along here. Now there's several different techniques that you can do to create this. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using Woodland Scenic's shaper sheet, which has just arrived. This particular one is 18 inches by 72 inches, and this should be enough easily to do what I want to do in this area all along here. And what's good about this stuff is that you can bend it to any shape that you want and create any form of terrain or even landscape, and it will still give you as good as the results that you can do even if you use something like, let's say, polystyrene or foam carved to shape. And I've never used Woodland Scenic shaper sheet before, so we'll see how good it really is. So the shaper sheet has been laid down into place, and I'm quite happy with how that looks. I mean, there are a couple of imperfections and rough edges with this, especially here, for example, but that's not going to really matter as such because this is all going to be plastered over anyway. So any imperfections that you see on here are going to be covered over anyway, so this will look a lot better when it's been plastered over. And also to shape the bank along here, what I did was, to make it look more natural, I took a metal ruler and just simply went underneath the layout, under the board where the tunnel is, and just simply used it to push it out a bit to give it the look as you see it. And also that bit down there, that little piece of cardboard, that's just representing a culvert. That piece of cardboard is not going to stay there. That was just to gauge where I needed to put it, basically. But so far, I'm rather happy with this. So we now need to move on to the next stage. So for the plaster, to help shape the landscaping now, I'm going to use some Woodland Scenics Plaster Cloth sheets. These are the 18 inches by 12 inches, and there's 30 sheets here, so I'm hoping that that will be enough to do all this area here, which it should be. If not, I'll have to go out and buy some more, but hopefully there's enough here. And all you do with the plaster cloth is you soak it in water and then you can put it on. It's very easy to work with. Now you can buy a plastic tray for the plastic cloth sheets, which you can fill with water, which you can buy from Woodland Scenics, which is produced by Woodland Scenics, I should say. But that's just spending money on something that I'm just going to use very little of. So to save money, I've just got this old cat litter tray. Don't worry, this particular one, it's been cleaned out, but it was used for plants, which there's been some plant pots in here because we've been growing plants. So it only had soil in the bottom, so it's just been washed out, and we're going to use that to soak the plaster cloth sheets in, and it will still do the same job, and that's just to save money. So the plaster cloth has been laid, and I must say I am more than happy with the result. That has shaped and formed it beautifully, that has. And I have still got some left as well. Never throw anything away because it could still come in useful one day. But I'm over the moon with this. I'm especially pleased with how the pool and the ditch has turned out. You can see that now looks a lot more natural. So I can't wait to get all this painted and have the scenery put on. But that's not going to be happening in this video. That's going to be for another time. So what I need to do now is I have to wait for the plaster cloth to dry, because it is still wet. There's no point in rushing this because I want to take my time with it. Right, so after a few hours, the plaster cloth is now nice and dry and rock solid. So now it's ready for painting. And so the paint I'm going to use is Daler-Rowney Burnt Umber. And I am going to be mixing in a bit of white with this to get a lighter shade. Right, so the painting has now all been done. Like I said, I mixed some white paint into the burnt umber. That was just to tone it down a bit. And I'm really rather happy with how this looks now. Ecstatic is the word. And so I'm really happy with how this looks. And also, having painted it this colour, if it means that some areas where static grass doesn't get to, it will actually make a very interesting effect. So before we can progress to the next step, which will be starting on the scenery, we must let this paint dry. And so I will give it overnight, or even a few days, because I am waiting on some bits, and there's still a few bits that I need to get before we will be coming onto the scenery, which we won't be doing in this video. That will be for part 4. So this video's gone on for long enough, so I think what we'll do is we'll end it here and we'll call it a day, and we'll crack on with the scenery, which we'll start in part 4, which will be adding the scenery to the bank, and of course then detailing up the ditch and the pool. There is some bits, like I say, that I'm waiting for. There's a couple of other bits that I need to get, so when this is all detailed, it's going to look stunning. And then we can then crack on with the scenery on this part of the tunnel, which is looking a little bit messy at the moment, but it's not going to matter when scenery goes on here. But that will not be in the next video. The scenery for this part of the tunnel on the top will be coming later on. So hopefully it shouldn't be too far away before we see part 4. I know it's taken quite a bit of time to get to this video, but it's progressing now and it's looking fantastic. So all I've got left to say is thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed. Please do check out all my other videos I have on the channel, and also please do subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. Smash that like button, and also do feel free to post a comment as long as it's about the video. And I'll see you in part 4, and obviously there'll be other videos I will be uploading as well. But until the next video, Stay safe and take care. Goodbye for now.